Imagine, for a moment, you are a builder. Every morning, before the sun even rises, you pick up your tools and walk toward a half-built wall. You've been working on it for weeks. You sweat, you grind, you push through hunger and exhaustion until the wall finally starts looking complete. But the next morning, you return, and 70% of the wall is gone. Not damaged, not broken, just gone. As if some invisible thief walked in while you were sleeping and stole the bricks one by one. So, you rebuild, harder this time, faster, with more pressure, more frustration. But the next morning, gone again. If this happened in real life, you'd call the police, you'd lose your mind, you'd quit. But here's the twist. This is exactly what your brain does to you every single day. You study, you read, you listen, you learn, and 1 week later, you forget. Not because you're lazy, not because you're not smart, but because your brain is silently erasing the effort you worked so hard to build. So the real question is, why does your brain steal your own knowledge? And how do you stop it once and for all? In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the answer, a method backed by a century of science, one that allows you to remember almost anything permanently. But to understand the solution, we must first meet the villain. To understand forgetting, we have to go way back. Not 10 years, not 100 years, but 10,000. Back when you and I were not students or workers, but hunters, survivors, cave dwellers. Your brain wasn't designed to remember stock markets, business strategies, coding languages, or Spanish vocabulary. It was designed to answer just two questions. Where is the danger? And what keeps me alive? Your brain consumes 20% of all the energy in your body, so it developed a filter, a brutal one. If information is not important for survival, your brain throws it away, immediately, efficiently, silently. This is why you forget the name of someone you met at a party. This is why you forget what you read last night. This is why you forget 90% of everything you study. And this is where a scientist named Hermann Ebbinghaus enters the story. He spent years doing something insane, memorizing thousands of nonsense syllables, Dax, Bach, yacht, words that meant nothing. He tested himself again and again, and when he graphed the results, he discovered something terrifying. The forgetting curve. Within 1 hour of learning something new, you forget half of it. Within 1 day, you lose 70%. Within a week, you retain less than 10%. Imagine filling a bucket with water, but there's a giant hole in the bottom. That's your brain. But here's the plot twist. That hole can be patched. And the fix is surprisingly simple. When you want to learn something quickly, for a test, a job, an exam, a project, you probably do what everyone else does. You cram. You sit down for hours. You highlight half the book. You reread the same paragraph until your eyes burn. And in that moment, you feel confident. You feel smart. You feel ready. But this feeling is a lie. Psychologists call it the illusion of competence. Your brain isn't learning. It's only recognizing. It sees the same sentence again and again and says, "Oh yeah, I remember this." But remove the book, remove the notes, and suddenly the knowledge collapses. It's like looking at a map versus driving the actual route. Looking at the map feels easy, but take the map away and you're lost. Cramming is like trying to grow a tree by dumping a bucket of water on it once a month. The water splashes everywhere, but never reaches the roots. Real learning doesn't come from flooding your brain. It comes from feeding it, slowly, strategically, over time. And that leads us to the method used by the world's top learners. If your brain forgets almost everything, how do you make it remember? Simple. You speak to it in the language it understands. Not cramming, not forcing, not highlighting, but spaced repetition. Here's how it works. You learn something on day 1. Your forgetting curve starts to drop. Right before you're about to forget it, you review it, and something magical happens. The curve shoots back up, but not just up, it flattens, meaning next time you forget slower. So now you review it again, after 3 days, then 7 days, then 14, then a month. Each review widens the space. Each review strengthens the memory. Each review converts a weak connection into a permanent neural highway. This method is so powerful that medical students, people who memorize thousands of diseases, literally swear by it. Spaced repetition turns short-term knowledge into long-term mastery. But knowing the method isn't enough. You need a system that works. In the 1970s, a scientist named Sebastian Leitner built a box, a simple wooden shoebox. Inside, he placed flashcards. There were 3 compartments: Box 1, new cards; Box 2, familiar cards; Box 3, mastered cards. If he answered a card correctly, it moved up a box. If he got it wrong, it went all the way back to Box 1. A beautiful system, but slow and manual. Today, we have something much more powerful. Apps like Anki take the Leitner system, combine it with algorithms, and give you the perfect flashcard at the perfect moment, right before your brain forgets it. This is not random. It is calculated, precise, scientific. If you mark a card as easy, Anki won't show it again for 4 days. If you mark it as hard, it comes back in 10 minutes. Anki stops you from wasting time on what you already know and focuses your effort exactly where your memory is weakest. But spaced repetition alone is only the vehicle. To truly remember, you need fuel. And that fuel is active recall. Active recall is simple. You test yourself before you're ready. Not rereading, not highlighting, not copying notes, but asking your brain, what did I just learn, before you look at the answer? That uncomfortable moment where your mind searches desperately, that struggle, that tension, is where learning happens. It's like lifting weights. If the dumbbell is too light, your muscles don't grow. If recalling a fact is too easy, your memory doesn't grow. The strain is the signal. The difficulty is the transformation. When you force your brain to retrieve information, you are literally rewiring your neurons, strengthening the pathway, making the memory stick. This is why active recall plus spaced repetition is the ultimate combination. One pulls the memory out, the other locks it in. So here's the truth. You're not forgetting because you're flawed. You're forgetting because your brain is following ancient survival rules. But now you know how to break the pattern. Imagine where you could be 1 year from now if you retained 70% of everything you learn, instead of 10%. A new language, a new skill, a new career, a sharper mind, a stronger memory. You don't need more effort. You need better strategy. Use spaced repetition. Use active recall. Stop pouring water into a leaky bucket, because the person who remembers wins. Thank you for listening.